I was looking for meaning in the wrong places. After you leave a toxic relationship, sometimes the only thing you want to do is go through a HOE era. You are trying to find your individuality. You are trying to remake yourself outside of that toxic relationship. Okay, let's get into it. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to my podcast / YouTube channel. Welcome back to the With Love podcast, or welcome for anyone new. My name is Vero. I help you all glow, grow, and thrive through those jealousies that you feel in the relationship, heal from toxic relationships, and just know that we are all healing together. So I wanted to point that out because jealousies is so nuanced and still a very controversial topic because people think, a jealous person is crazy, insecure people are crazy, but I'm here to shine light that is just your defense mechanisms and your survival mechanisms kicking in, and how we can turn those survival and defense mechanisms into something that doesn't take over your life and something that doesn't overwhelm you and cause you anxiety day in and day out. So with that being said, today's topic for this episode is diving into how to date or how to even handle being single after you've left a very toxic relationship, and what situationships look like when you are single and traumatized essentially, and basically going over the details of if you should have a HOE era or not. I know my girlies know after you leave a toxic relationship, sometimes the only thing you want to do is go through a HOE era. Sometimes you just want to blaze through life and acting up and acting out and doing whatever the hell you want to do with no repercussions, or you know that there are consequences, but you don't give a damn. So we're going to go over that. So if you want to hear some juicy stories about how I handled myself after leaving a very bad relationship, the things that I went through, some juicy details that I might uncover, and even how I worked through that era of my life, I will go over that in this podcast. So stay tuned to hear some juicy deets and some tips along the way. So, being single after being cheated on, what you're thinking of right now, or at least in my experience, is one, a lot of hurt and a lot of questioning yourself and your identity. Why am I not good enough? Why did they do this to me? Why am I always getting the short end of the stick? Why do I seem to keep falling into these bad relationships? Is this all I deserve? Is this for me? Is relationships for me? You start to question whether or not relationships and monogamy and everything under that umbrella is meant for you because of how traumatic and how damaging the last relationship was. And I definitely went through that spiral. And at the time, and I think a lot of girlies can relate, that you feel like you kind of just need to blast through a HOE era after that. Just distract yourself with the most craziest experiences and think that can fill the void and just throw all reason and rhyme and rules out the window and just dive into a crazy era. Again, this is not for everybody. I don't think that people necessarily think of that right away, but it's definitely in the back of their head, being like, I don't care. I don't give a damn. I'm just going to do whatever I want. I'm going to do whatever the hell I want. And sometimes, a lot of the times, people want to do this to even get back at that person and just show I can be this crazy girl, or I can be this wild spirit. I'm a different person than you knew me, so I am discovering who I am, and I'm being reborn, doing all this stuff that I didn't think I would be doing. And so in a way, you are starting fresh, and you are starting from point zero because you have just been dwindled down after that toxic relationship into basically nothing because you don't know who you are anymore. You don't know what your value is. You don't know what your identity is. And you are struggling to find value and meaning out of the relationships in your life, the choices that you're making, and just how you feel about yourself overall. So in regards to, again, the topic of the HOE era, do I think people need to go through a HOE era to be able to find themselves? Long answer short, no. I don't think people need to go through a HOE era to be able to discover themselves. It also just depends on how sure you are of yourself and your decisions. With the quote unquote HOE era, this is essentially saying that you have no rules for yourself. You are basically doing whatever you want, your wildest dreams come true, and you're just going on your own clock, which in some sense, if we wanted to dissect that into healthier points, it is great that you are trying to find your freedom. You are trying to find your individuality. You are trying to remake yourself outside of that toxic relationship. And maybe there were things you weren't able to do, things you felt that you were restricted to do in that relationship to be able to keep that relationship. And maybe sometimes you feel some regret of things that you couldn't do in that relationship that you are just trying to discover about yourself now. So with that being said, there are elements to essentially a quote unquote HOE era that can really benefit to your growth, that can really benefit to your self-discovery. And again, I am not saying HOE era equals healing, because at the end of the day, actually, and I'll break this down even more, it doesn't. But it is a good thing to look at yourself and reinvent yourself outside of the relationship. It is actually very healthy for you to take a step back and realize, who was I in that relationship? And what version of myself did I not really appreciate? And what brought me down and made me feel like I'm in a box in that relationship? And who am I now? It's very healthy to reimagine and reinvent yourself and just find yourself again after that relationship, because sometimes, and a lot of the times, we feel trapped. Sometimes we lose our value, and sometimes we don't remember what a great person we are. So in a way, sometimes that HOE era just opens yourself up to remember, like, yes, I am this bad bitch. Yes, I am this smart, independent person that can make their own choices and do whatever they want and talk to whoever they want and make decisions on my own. Because again, you're reinventing yourself. So when it comes to my personal HOE era, quote unquote, I do admit that after that toxic relationship that I left, and I'm very glad that I left, I was very lost. I was trying to find out what my value was, who I see myself as a person. And in some ways, and people can relate to this as well, I wanted to get back at them. I wanted to make them feel like, oh, I am this hot commodity that didn't need them at the end of the day. And whatever choices they made to make me feel like I wasn't good enough, I'm going to show them and let them know that that is not true. And I am a boss. I am the woman. I am the moment. And so with that being said, I vowed to never be in a relationship. And I told myself, I'm like, it's not for me. I don't think it's for me. And I don't know if I'll ever be in a relationship, but I'm just going to do me and I'm going to be happy with it. And so with that being said, when I had basically gone through my quote unquote HOE era, I would have to say, even though I was rediscovering myself, it was very, very dark, and it was very, I was very lost, and there was a lot of confusion, and there was still a lot of like really damaging things that came out of it. I ended up running into people that made me feel even worse because I didn't know what I wanted. I didn't know what I was looking for, and I wasn't looking for anything specifically. And because I was so loosey-goosey, go with the flow, I didn't know what my value was in going through that era. So that's why I also suggest that people don't jump into doing a HOE era, or maybe just like a small HOE period, where you just need to get those bad decisions off your chest, or those wild experiences off your chest, but I wouldn't necessarily want to make that a lifestyle, and I'm not encouraging that to be your lifestyle. I encourage you to reinvent yourself and to find your value, but I don't encourage you to essentially continue to that lifestyle and have that be your lifestyle. So, like mentioned, I was very lost. I was basically just going through the motions, and I also vowed, because I was cheated on so much in that really bad relationship, I vowed to only find people that everyone wanted, and find and be with people that everyone described as conventionally attractive, the attractive man. I knew that if I bagged a handful of attractive men, I was like, okay, I am the creme de la crop. I am top shelf. If I can get these people, that means I am a high value woman. But I was looking for meaning in the wrong places. That is not it. Because if you just give yourself up to anybody, essentially, of course, they're going to say yes. Because if something's easy, it's like, duh, that makes sense. Let me just go for that. And that doesn't actually mean that you're a high value woman. It just means that you're available and you are willing to do whatever to give yourself some sort of meaning and some sort of purpose. So with that being said, that's why I also don't recommend that this HOE era, or this period, whatever you want to call it, is good, because it is just a distraction. It is the wrong way to fill a void, and it is also going to create an even deeper void, because there's no meaning, there's no growth from it. There's a lot of confusion, and sometimes it can even just poison the well even more and make you feel less valuable, less important, and less confident in yourself. But I would say if you are making the choice of whether or not you want to go into a HOE era or not, I would advise not to. And with that being said, I would advise you to look deep into yourself and reimagine yourself and reinvent yourself. So still take the elements of, like, I need to find new me. I need to redefine who I am. I need to find my value. I need to rediscover what my confidence looks like. Those are all very, very good things, but we can go about that in a healthy way. Find new activities you can do. I would advise, physical activities that will make you feel confident. Maybe take up a fighting class, maybe take up the gym, maybe take up some workout class that you've always wanted to do. Learn a new skill. Learn something that'll be a good investment in the long run for yourself. Maybe take up photography. Take up that one thing that you have always put aside because you always didn't think of yourself first and thought of that other person first. So when it comes to reinventing yourself and refinding yourself, that I really encourage to be able to, start the healing process of finding yourself again, of making sure that you can find your ground and you can be your own person outside of the relationship, because you are trying to heal the damage that caused in your confidence and your identity. So rebuilding your confidence is really, really important. Now, when you are ready and you feel confident in finding yourself and rediscovering yourself, you will come across situations where you might think of dating again. And with that being said, when you're in that period of deciding whether or not you need to date again or not, if you still feel like you don't want to be in a relationship and you're not healed, then don't force it. You're not ready for the relationship. There's still things about yourself that you want to discover and you want to heal and you want to bring back your confidence. So don't jump into it straight away, because a lot of the time you don't know what you're looking for if you can't even know what you want for yourself and what you want for your life. So if you are still unsure about things in your life and your identity and your confidence, I would work on that first and foremost, to be able to be a high value person that knows what they want and what they're looking for. So with that being said, if you have gone through the motions of finding your confidence, finding your identity, and you feel you're at a good place, with yourself and you're comfortable with yourself and you love yourself through the flaws and all, then you might think about dating and you might think about putting yourself out there. But the most important thing that I want to highlight when you do put yourself out there is to make sure that you know what you want. Because when I went through the motions of finding myself and rediscovering myself and being at a good place with my confidence, I still had this air of like, maybe I want to be a relationship. Maybe I don't want to be a relationship. So I think it's really important that that question is answered, because I've been through situationships because I was in that halfway point. And it can be a really good learning process and it can definitely help you solidify what you want. But if you don't know what you want, it's a whole other era of confusion. It's a whole other period of trying to discover what your goals are, what you're actually looking for. And it's just a lot of, like I said, confusion, and it opens yourself up to this other person stringing you along, this other person making you feel some type of way, making you feel important, but not actually giving you what you want because you yourself don't know what you want. So, if you find yourself in a situationship and you're trying to get yourself out of it, or you're trying to turn this situationship into a relationship, I really think it's an uphill battle, pushing a boulder uphill, because you've already started with the foundation of not knowing what you want. And especially if that person also doesn't know what they want, that is basically an infinite loop of I don't know what you want. And it's not healthy for you either, because it makes you also question, again, your value, your confidence, how you see yourself, because you start to question, am I not good enough for this person? Is it just because I am not good enough in general that I can't be in a relationship? And again, it just another pool of questioning and uncertainty and insecurity. And in some ways, it ends up feeding that jealous bias that you have some more, because you start to feel maybe that you want to creep on whoever they might be seeing. You might want to creep on what they do from their day to day. It just causes a lot of uncertainty, and it feeds and grows this really ugly kind of jealousy inside of you, because you are putting yourself in a situation where you're unsure again, where you don't know how they feel. You don't know what's going on. So I wouldn't suggest going into dating without a goal, without a clear motive in mind. And with that being said, if you are in a place where you don't want to be in a relationship, but you do want to date around, be confident in the fact that it won't be workout. That's not a sentence. Be confident in the fact that it might not work out. Be confident in the fact that this is just a phase then. That person that you're with may not ever want to be with you in the long run. They might not want to take you seriously. So be confident in the fact that you're going to be okay with it. And that's fine. If you're just trying to go through it to, give yourself that exercise or that opportunity to find yourself, then know that is what it is. But if you do want to be in a relationship and you know that that's what you want, and you run into somebody that doesn't want a relationship, that's another case. I would say don't go for it. Don't go for it. Whether or not this is a hot take, I don't know. But if that person doesn't know if they want to be in a relationship and you do, then it is going to just spiral into another world of confusion. You are waiting for this what if when you can just find somebody who already knows. And you'd rather put yourself through this what if cycle and just be unsure again, not knowing what you want. So again, just to reiterate, there's different versions of what dating would look like outside of the relationship, whether it be situationships, whether it be someone who doesn't want a relationship, but you do. I think it's important for you to just know yourself. It's important to you to know what you want. And it's important to be able to solidify your confidence in yourself, your own identity after a toxic relationship. Does that make sense? Does that make sense to everybody? Yeah. So I hope this helps clarify what my thoughts are in essentially the quote unquote HOE era and what to do when you're in a situationship. I highly advise that you are sure in yourself, that you know what you want, and you're going into it with your eyes wide open. So if you do feel still a little bit cloudy in your decisions, if you feel that you're unsure about how to move forward about a certain person, a relationship, or even yourself, I would still give yourself some time to heal, give yourself some time to rediscover yourself before you jump into a relationship, because the last thing you want is to be played again and again and again. Especially after being out of a toxic relationship, you're just going to damage your self-identity even more rather than grow it. So take the time to invest yourself. That's one of the most important things you can do. Invest in yourself to give yourself that return, to give yourself the relationship, the life that you deserve. So yeah, I think that wraps up my thoughts. This is a bit more of a scrambled episode because I kind of just threw this topic out there at the wind and it just went off the cuff, and hopefully that helps clarifies anything for anybody, and shines light on my experiences and how I handled it as well, and how that can help you moving forward. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for listening to another episode of the With Love podcast. And as usual, I will always be here to help you out. If you have any questions, feel free to leave it in the comments below. Other than that, I will see you in the next episode. Signed off with love from Vero. Thank you so much. Have a good day.